tonight. Our reporter Tumaole Mohlaoli is standing by for us with the latest. Tumaole, so that media briefing really consolidating what is the final handover of the report. The Chief Justice has spoken about a lot of challenges which were almost unavoidable that resulted in the delays. I didn't get quite clearly what those challenges were. Perhaps the Presidency will be able to give us a bit more insight.
Well, Kathy, one of the chief challenges that were experienced as detailed by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo was how the Commission began its work initially in terms of, just taking evidence, and in terms of how it handled procedurally the process. That lessons were then taken in terms of asking those who were implicated to come forward and also give their side of the story. So these were some of the initial, teething problems that were heard initially, or that were experienced initially by the Commission, but it learned from that and tried to basically undertake its work. And one of the other challenges that it would have seen in terms of the scope of its work was going into the issue of going into provinces, for instance, and the state capture that would have happened there, saying also when one looks at what would have happened there, that there was not necessarily enough time to unpack everything. We do know, of course, that some of the issues around Estina Dairy Farm in the Free State were unpacked. That was something that was seen provincially, but also in terms of the asbestos removal saga, the 500 million that was paid for, essentially counting how many asbestos roofs instead of actually removing physically. But let's hear from Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele. Minister in the Presidency, some of the issues around the delays and some of the issues around the workload itself. The day has finally arrived. Are you satisfied with what has happened, given the occurrences of the last couple of days in terms of the delays?
Most important thing, the task has been completed. Chief Justice, in our view, has done an excellent work in a nation of open democracy, where everyone has got a freedom to say anything he likes. Everything has been said about him. Everything was said to him. What a way to focus on the ball, transcending the incidentals, because he was able to keep his eyes on the ball. Here is his work now. He has completed. He has navigated under adverse conditions with firm, humble, effortless display of humility. Again, you will have seen him handing over to a leader who, since he took over, this process started under him. President who made sure that all the circumstances that would undermine the completion of this work were actually removed. What a way to display leadership. Now, it's time for government to actually walk the talk, because the content, the substance, is going to translate to tasks, which the President has already said in 4 months he will present a plan of an implementation plan. We are very much indebted to justice, to the leadership of the President, who has demonstrated a relentless pursuit of malfeasance. We still believe with him going forward, this is going to be the way.
President dealing very firmly and very strongly with any innuendo about the final process, the minutes leading up to the actual handover, with questions around whether there were discussions about the report or discussions about anything related to the report in the minutes before the actual handover, saying that the integrity of the Chief Justice was never in question, and he would not have even breached that particular process. Do you think it was important for President Ramaphosa to address that so strongly?
It was very important, especially in a country where social media has got such a bearing, both in terms of the truth and the lies. you always need to make sure that the people who questions are put upon are given opportunity to clarify, and the president never wasted time to actually lay the statement very clearly that that could not have happened. He could not have discussed the substance of the report with the justice. That is both for the integrity of the justice, which has passed the scrutiny for many years, and including that of the president, who up to this point in time has demonstrated respect for the law.
And finally, Minister, we see that there are all these court processes and prosecutions already related to some of the testimonies given before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, including for those who refused to participate with the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, including those who outed witnesses at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Now, the recommendations for those to be prosecuted, do you think perhaps maybe the cart was put before the horse, so to use that analogy, or that we will see positive and successful prosecutorial processes?
Thank you very much. We've learned a lot about how to follow implementations of the finding of the SIU. You must have watched us. We've already presented 2 progress reports to Parliament. You must understand, I have no doubt from these findings, some of them will be implementable within the NPA environment, some within the investigative institutions, some within government, some with various professions, be it medical profession, nursing profession, some with engineering service. All these findings being analyzed by our team will actually be directed where they are supposed to go. Of course, they say the taste of the pudding will be in the eating. 1
billion rand plus the price tag put in the Commission's work. Chief Justice Raymond Zondo also thanking his team and some of the investigators and indeed evidence leaders who also sacrificed at some point and continued with their work out of essentially their own pockets without having been paid. But the hefty price tag, do you think that there's anything left in the kitty to even support the NPA going forward in terms of that prosecutorial process?
I think this commission and its processes leading to its finding, it has created better conditions for more billions than one. In other words, a message has been sent to those who would have followed their predecessors in capturing the state not to do it. By so doing, you have protected billions. Going forward, to those who want to invest in our country because of the respect for the laws, that in ensuring predictability, certainty about the future of this country, in adhering to its policies, will invest. All those outcomes will bring more billions than the 1 billion, in my view.
Thank you very much. We'll leave you there. That was Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, just outlining, especially on that last particular question about the price tag and whether, of course, there will be something left in the kitty for the actual beginning of the prosecutorial process, whereby those who are essentially named and called out in the reports as having a case to answer to in terms of the state capture project to be brought before the courts of law. And he was very skillful there in trying to spin that question to say, well, the billion that was spent was actually money well invested and money that will ensure that more billions do not flow out of state coffers as was seen in the so-called state capture years. But that is back to you in the studio. Kathy, that's the situation as it stands now with the handover of the reports.
All right, Tumaole.